Yes, thank you. So what we'll do is some of you or most of us did see the presentation. I'll draw in some aspects from there, and starting off with Mr. Gulati, especially on the two-wheeler side. While I did touch on some aspects here, I would really like to see that what are the other drivers or what are the other issues that the two-wheeler segment is facing, which is why it's still below pre-code levels, while other segments have surpassed pre-code levels already.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, so, practically, no doubt the data we also know, but seeing in front when you present it, it hits you harder. Uh, and as an auto, we are happy that post-COVID, most of the categories are back in track. But yes, two-wheeler is one sector which uh, is the most important sector for India because our major number of auto comes from that. No doubt not value, but at least quantity. And major numbers of employment and dealerships involved is more in two-wheeler because we do some 70% plus in auto as compared for two-wheelers. So what I feel, what has happened due to COVID and post-COVID is we had seen a bit of semi-urbanization happening more as compared. So there was a time when people moved to rural. We saw a great jump in tractor sales because there were more hands on the ground and the agricultural produce also benefited because of that. But slowly and steadily those hands came back to the urban market and we started seeing the urban improving. So that is how we saw the premiumization or more feature-rich vehicles being sold. Even in two-wheeler, the premium vehicles seeing better growth than the mass market. I feel overall, some other economies thing and some we are also to be blamed because if you remember pre-COVID, there was a time when 100cc fight happened and one OEM came down to 30,000, second OEM came down to 29,000 and we dealers were forced to sell vehicles even without margin to compete, give finance, 0% finance or down payment free and all those things. But I feel post-COVID, I haven't seen any ad coming like that or any aggressiveness coming in 100cc. Why? I don't know. Even being in this industry for so long, I am still confused why the manufacturers have forgotten those 100cc market and the rural market, or I'll not say rural, but a bit I can say that the lower strata of salaried people also. Because if you see 100cc or a product which was pre-COVID around below 60,000, the major customers came from rural or the lower strata of salaried class. And that is where we were competing a lot because that was where what we used to say that Indian economy lives. If that segment grows, it means economy is growing. But I feel somewhere definition post-COVID changed to towns or I'll not say metros, but towns which are just below metros and they have improved a lot. So somewhere we have lost the importance of those type of customers and the competition in 100cc. Like you showed BS4, BS6, yes, the price varied a lot because of that. But even if I take that into consideration, we still don't have a competitive entry level bike to entice people to buy vehicles. So slowly and steadily that segment is being forgotten. Second, I'll say somewhere this EV revolution also hit us bad because there was a lot of confusion, a lot of myths, a lot of issues, different statement coming from some OEMs and these startups and some government officials about petrol will not be there, two-wheelers will be wiped off. It created a lot of confusion in the customer's mind, and we should understand those customers. They are buying a bike, which means once or twice in their lifetime, a very, very big decision, and they have saved money for that. And if there is a confusion that this bike won't run after 3 years or 4 years, or it would not be allowed legally to run, that's a big risk he doesn't want to play. So that, no doubt today it has stabilized, but that 2-3 years of that startup EV culture which started in India created another negative thing in the two-wheeler segment. Obviously, COVID was the biggest, but these two put together it took us at least 10 years back, which we are still struggling to come back. I'm happy seeing your data that as per you, F26 we'll be back. I'm still confused. Will we be back in motorcycle or electric vehicle or scooters? Because what I am currently seeing, HMSI in a month or two was number one, which means scooter adoption is growing up. Most of the electric vehicles are scooters again. So are we again seeing the age-old scooter ratio going above motorcycle in the coming time? I feel that's the right question to be asked to you than to me. But overall, what in two-wheeler I see, there are a lot of disruptions happening, a lot of confusion happening. We are lucky now, it's all behind us, and slowly and steadily the growth is happening. Last year was great. This calendar year hasn't been great. January was fine, but February and March both are not looking good. I hope as we enter with Navratra and marriage season, things would be better. I'm sorry I took a lot of time, but still.
No, that's fine. There's excellent views. So, Mr. Goindi, since you've been tracking the sectors also pretty long time, so would you have some views on why, while Mr. Gulati did speak about, would you have some other aspects to add that why the sector has not performed well as compared to the other auto segments?
I think Gulati, Vinkesh gave all the reasons. There are few I want to add. One, I think manufacturers have forgotten how to excite the market. As he said, there is no 100cc bike or make it, let the customer go from 100 to 125cc. I think our tendency of saying 100cc is economy, 125cc is executive, and 150cc and above is premium, that I think has to also change. The customer is shifting from 100 to 125cc, especially the finance is available. Number one. So the excitement of the marketplace has come down. I mean, how many ads you see of two-wheelers today? Number one. Number two, I think if you see the car industry at 4 million plus and two-wheeler at about 19 million plus kind of a thing, the number of brands in four-wheelers is much more than number of brands in two-wheelers, both all put together as well as company-wise. I mean, you see like Maruti, how many brands they have in four-wheelers? For a 1.5 lakhs plus kind of a volume in a month. And how many brands the manufacturers in two-wheelers have got for a volume of 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 3 lakh, 2 lakhs, whatever the numbers are. So basically we have, and the manufacturers have decided, okay, this is the segment, this is how it will work. So put the whole thing onto the cost, which is a reality. There's no doubt about that. Second, if you see all India basis, I'm sure the penetration levels of two-wheelers are also higher as compared to, say, four-wheelers. There's no denying, as compared to the world market also, we are fairly good in terms of penetration levels. So that gives that the growth rate would be about 6-7% on an average. Even earlier also you see between 14 and 19, the growth would have been about 5-6% only per annum. The third thing in India, the market which are really increasing are what? UP, Bihar, West Bengal. These are the market. I'm sure these markets were done better than pre-COVID levels. I have not seen the data recently, but I have a feeling they were done much more than the pre-COVID level. So taking all India is also may not be the right way to look at it. So the manufacturers have to really invest in and put more number of brands, segment the market better, find out more consumer needs, get the better consumer insight, and put more brands. Without naming the name of the companies, the companies which have done that, they've gained market share in the last 2-3 years. I mean, you can see the name of the companies which have got more brands and have gained market share. And you can look at the companies which have not put any new brands in the last 5-7 years, they're not gained market share. So last, a lot of things which are happening around. A two-wheeler guy had no option in say 5-10 years back when the infrastructure was not good enough. Today the infrastructure has become better. There are metros, there are good buses traveling, there are e-rickshaws in the small towns. So many of the people who had to use two-wheelers in say Lucknow or in many other places possibly have started using e-rickshaws, especially the family types. E-rickshaws are available, so they use that for the basic things. Why buy a two-wheeler at all? So the replacement cycle is becoming a bit longer for two-wheelers. Because I have an option of e-rickshaws, I have an option of metro, I have an option of good enough buses, the AC buses in many cities and across. So to that extent, the reliance on two-wheeler also is a little bit lesser. So penetration levels have increased. Replacement cycles are becoming longer. So all this put together, there's a pressure on two-wheelers. I think upgradation is also happening around. So I don't expect more than 5-7% average growth over the next 5-10 years time. Number one. Number two is manufacturers have to really excite the market. The new products have to come in, new brands have to come in. The customer, if he's buying a Hero Honda Splendor for ages, there has got to be something for him to say, I want to change over and buy a 125cc higher mileage. Fact remains today, Honda Shine must be selling a large numbers because they have done some work in the last 10-15 years time. So two-wheelers companies have to do something from the macro point of view, because of the increase in public transportation and the e-rickshaws. I think that is also affected, and nothing wrong in that. Absolutely nothing wrong. I am not suggesting it should not. And third thing, upgradation will happen and continue to happen.
All right, thank you. So as we were speaking about that, even both of you mentioned about the fact that the premium segment is doing better, and we've got two dignitaries here on the dais or here on the panel who represent really the premium segment. So starting off with you, Mr. Chandra, and then Tushar can come in that, how are you seeing this growth play out? What are the major reasons for it? And do you expect this to continue? Do you expect it to continue, the premium segment, continue outperforming the entry level and executive level for it?
Well, first of all, let me define the premium segment for me. So when we talk of, and since I'm an ex-Bajaj, I was with Bajaj Auto 20 years ago. So I understand what premium means for them. For when I was with Bajaj, for us Pulsar was the limit, the most premium bike we had. 180cc was the limit. And I don't think more than Pulsar, Eliminator and probably Charisma, there were any bike in that segment at that point of time, because ID350s had become history by then. So today, for me, you will have to multiply that 150cc by at least 7.5 times, if not 10. And then you will have to divide the volume by 10,000 or so. So the premium is something very different in Indian context. And when we talk of brands like Ducati or any such brand in this segment, we are present in, then we get clubbed as a 500cc plus market. In fact, Ducati starts from 800cc only. So for us, that premium level is very different. But yes, I do agree to one concurring themes by both the previous speakers. The excitement is very, very important in the market. And I think we all the big makers, I will not say premium because that will confuse everyone. So all the superbike makers, we are definitely into that game. For example, in this calendar year 25, and I'm not trying to sell Ducati per se, but as a matter of information, we are in a process to launch 14 new bikes. We have already launched some of them and many more will follow. Now the point is, we are very small in volume, but we are very costly. For us, R&D cost is very high. Despite that, if we are willing to do something new with the bikes, see, I'm not launching new brands, but I am launching new generation bikes. I'm launching new facelift models into that. So that gives some excitement to the same buyer to upgrade. Now, a person who would have bought a Multistrada, let us say, in 2021, today he has a very solid reason to buy a new Multistrada. Person who would have bought a Panigale in 2020, 21, 22, he has got a very solid reason to buy a new generation Panigale because many new things have come up. So I think this is something which we need to look at. I do agree the base motorcycles are mass market. Ours are more experience, more lifestyle, more luxury. So my customer class, client base is completely different and I cannot compare apples to oranges. But still, I do agree with my previous speakers that we need to put in more excitement into that segment because having been there, I started my auto journey with Bajaj Auto only in the year 2000. So I have deep respect for that kind of motorbiking. That is from where I started actually. So we need to put in more energy, more excitement, and that will definitely help us. Coming more to our segment, I think India is definitely looking at a very positive side. So the data which you showed on the screen, me and my colleague, we were discussing that this does not reflect us. Because that 1% growth is not reflective of what big bike or super bikes are in the country. We are definitely looking at a way higher percentage of growth. Again, the data in our segment is not 100% correct because Ducati included, we all do not report all our data into the common forum anywhere. So, but the estimate we have, we are increasing in a very healthy way in double digits. Same is Ducati doing. So, we are good that way. And with the increasing better infra, more exposure to people, better foreign travels, better experience level, everything. So if I talk of 500cc and plus, I think we still have lots of juice left in the market and we have a good year to look after or look for.
Thank you for that. Tushar, you'd like to comment?
Yeah, I think what Bipul sir just mentioned about the premium motorcycling market. I think for us, Brixton Motorcycles, we launched last year in India, and we have a range of 500cc up till 1200cc. And I think the sweet spot right now for the premium motorcycle, I would say, is between 400cc up till 600 or 800cc. And in regards to the commuter segment that the earlier panelists were talking about, I feel today the younger generation or the younger audience would not look for a 125 or a 200cc bike. He will pressurize the parents to go for a 250 or a 300cc bike. So that's the shift which is actually happening, that the younger audience, they want more. They want more lifestyle oriented products. And I think that is where the premium market is going to see an increase year on year. And again, as Bipul sir was also mentioning, that the R&D cost for us is a lot. Of course, our market share is very less, but since this segment is growing, I think for us, when we launched the 1200cc bike, so we're the first, I think, ones who have launched a 1200cc bike at a price point of 7,85,000. So I think that entirely has created a segment amongst the rider community where, like, if anyone is having a 400cc or a 500cc bike, if he wants to upgrade to a 800cc or 1000cc bike, he has to spend 10, 12, 15 lakh rupees. But then maybe with newer brands coming in, with more options that are coming in for the consumers, I think the consumer, of course, is getting spoiled. And I think it's a good sign for the market. And since this market is growing year on year, especially the ADV segment, if you see in the premium motorcycle market, the ADV segment is something which is really growing. And I think most of the brands, brands like even like Ducati or Triumph, they are mainly focusing more on the ADV segment, because that is where the higher volume is there in the premium motorcycling market. And I think it's a good thing that post-COVID, people are willing to spend more, and because of better financing options and the entire lifestyle category is increasing. So it's a plus thing, it's a good thing for us, and I hope that this trend keeps on increasing. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So Mr. Agarwal, I'll get you in here. Basically, a lot of new brands have come up, as people have said. I mean, when I say brands, I mean OEMs, and I think Mr. Goendi spoke about models. So when I speak about new brands coming in, be it on the new age side, where you've got the likes of Ola, Ather, Ampere, and a whole host, and also on the premium side, now that you've seen Triumph being introduced, KTM, of course, has a long story, Ducati has been building. Specifically when it comes to the dealer community, how do you see them reacting? Because as Mr. Gulati spoke about that, volumes have been impacted for two-wheelers, and two-wheelers account for about 70 to 80% of annual sales. So are you seeing this shift towards the premium bike helping dealers, or are you seeing dealers being left out? Because say specifically when I talk about somebody like an Ola, right, who's gone direct to consumer, or even say Mercedes-Benz on the PV side has gone direct to consumer, wherein dealers are just, or they have the company-owned showrooms. So how are you seeing dealers managing in this space or in this section?
Oh, it's working. Yeah. So I think I was just hearing to all the panelists and the speakers. So I've been in the two-wheeler dealer for the last 25 years in a mass market segment. So if you see, I'll just give me 2 minutes around. I'll describe the two-wheeler industry, what happened in the last 25 years. So if you see from 2000 to 2010, there was an exponential growth in the two-wheeler market in India, especially in the entry-level segment, which played out very well, and that is why whatever brands were there in that particular segment. And from 2010 to 2020, the entry segment started coming down little bit, but not much. And then the 125cc with the 150, which the Bajaj segment, I'll put it that way. So they started growing. And now when you're coming to 2020 later on when the COVID hit. So there were three eras which I'll talk about. So right now what has happened, if you see again in the Indian market, so almost, any company which has to be successful in India has to be rural driven. They have to reach every nook and corner, every village, every taluka, if any product has to be successful, whether it's an FMCG, whether it's a two-wheeler, whether it's a four-wheeler. I think all are opening branches pan-India, going down to the level of blocks in every district or maybe in every district of India. So coming to that point, so let's come to the premium side. So the Indian, I'll say the youth, where we say the millenniums or the Gen X, they have an aspiration to buy the premium products, but then they don't have the money in the pocket. And again, when we see the 100cc customers, I think Hero, TVS, all these mass markets players have sold crores of two-wheelers in that segment. So now when these customers want to upgrade, the first upgrade happens to the 125cc. Again, that is why you see right now that the 125cc is having a big growth. And then when you are satisfied with the 125, people try to shift to 150, 200, 250, 300cc, that segment. The challenge lies in Indian market is that it will be, I think if you say the 100cc market is degrowing, I agree, 100 to 125, and the maximum growth right now is happening in the premium segment. If you see for every 100 two-wheelers sold, we have almost 25% in the premium. For me, for the Indian market, again, like Sir said, it has to be divided in two parts with respect to premium. One is, I'll say, between 150 to 250 or maybe 300, and something is more than the 300 to, it goes up to 1200. And it's not about the CC, it's about the price at which the manufacturers are selling. So again, I'll say that premium will take time for, at this level, when we say about 500cc plus. But if you say that 150 to 250, that is the sweet spot where the growth is happening and will happen. Now compared to the dealer fraternity, if you're talking about any manufacturer who wants to go alone in the market, so there's only one player who has done it in the two-wheeler industry, and the results is for everyone to see. You cannot give the service to the customers, you cannot get the satisfaction there, and ultimately your sales are dropping. So the dealers have to be involved in a market like India, where you have to go down to every village, every block. Like in the two-wheeler industry, you have the sub-dealer concept. Right? So Ola doesn't have it. And they're just taking to major cities of India. They're trying to expand, but that customer experience will never come when you get it done through your own staff at that local level. So it will be a challenge for any company who wants to come on board. And like you said, the Mercedes. So that's I think that's a premium segment. The number of four-wheelers which the Mercedes is trying to stock is very less. So the Mercedes model cannot be implemented in the two-wheeler segment where the quantity is huge. I think that's my view on this.
I'd like to add here, let's accept the fact that for the customer, especially the mass market, up to 250cc roughly, the customer requires some contact point at the local level. Now, whether it's a dealer or company appoints its own franchisee or in a whatever form, shape, and they do it, it has to be there. And it is better in Indian context to have a dealer, his cost structures are low, his motivation levels are high, he is a local person, he knows the whole society, he can do the PR, he can do RTO registration, everything done properly. But the local contact required for if Ola or anybody else wants to have a local, their own franchisee dealer, that's their choice. But you cannot get away from the fact that you need a local, some kind of a establishment to take care of the sales, service, all the things around that area. Simple fact, take all India basis, or take any state, or take any town. All the places the market share is not same for the same vehicle. Let's say Splendor, let's take any Bajaj vehicle, TVS vehicle, any vehicle you take it. The market share will vary between 1:10 between different cities and different states for the same brand. I'm not saying 1:2 also. If you have, say, Apache, or you have a Splendor, or you have everything, if in a particular town the market share is X, in some other town, in some other place of the same segment, the market share will be 10x of that particular thing. The reason is the local dealer has played a huge important role in doing that particular job. Because the other bikes are same, the customers are largely same. Somebody has done the work there to make sure that his strength and weaknesses as compared to other strength and weaknesses dealers have played a role. So any company wants to do local directly, leave Mercedes out because the number of customers are limited. can do it, either appoint your own franchisee and have a strength in that, both in terms of relationship, cost, everything else, or have a dealer who's able to do this much better job than somebody else there.
There's just one more point I wanted to add regarding that excitement in the 100cc and the variants. So right now, if you see in India, if you talk about 100 and 125cc, if there is X variants in these two segments, but when you go to 150 plus, you have almost 10X variants in this in that segment.
sir.
And then the excitement in the 100cc. See, if the pricing of 100cc two-wheelers in India, if you see, are rock bottom, right? HF Deluxe, we are now selling at around 65K. So that is where the manufacturers are not earning. That is what they are saying. I also agree to that point. It's, I mean, just for the sake of maintaining a market share, the price point is at that particular point. So in that particular segment, if you say you need to establish or get new brands, what new technology will you get in a 100cc market at a price point of 65K? There's nothing much on the table. So that area will not see much excitement. It's more of a commuter segment. I want to travel from point A to point B. A rural or urban customer using it purely for that purpose. It is not for aspirational. It is not for lifestyle. So that will not have major excitement, I'll put it. It's a commuter. It's just we need to commute. We have a two-wheeler in that particular segment.
See, I will also add one thing to it.
Excuse me,
What
gentlemen.
Pradeep ji was-
Sorry to break in just such an insightful discussion. Actually, we have a positive update. One of our esteemed panelists, Mr. Ayush Lohia, CEO of Lohia Auto, has arrived. So you can just invite him to the panel with a round of applause.
Really sorry, guys.
In Delhi, we can expect that. No worries. So, what I was talking about, what Pradeep ji spoke about the service penetration into the country. I think that is a very, very important concept. And although having been on the other side, I can vouch that all the manufacturers have very robust network in the rural network and T2, T3, T4 kind of towns. But that idea is something which now every company will have to replicate. And let me share with you, not only the mass market bikes, but even at Ducati, we also understand the importance. And this year in January, we started just a workshop only location. So Goa is a very small location per se, having very small bike community, a biker community or a bike volume as such. But we understand that Goa is a very important transition point. Lot many bikers go there, have a couple of nights out there and then they come back. So they may require service, so we have opened a workshop in Goa. Just a workshop, no sales, nothing. If sales happens, very good. We all are salesmen ultimately. If nothing, no worries. Now the idea is we also plan to open that kind of workshop in any other location wherever it is required. So the point, I'm just trying to corroborate what Pradeep ji was saying, that at every nook and corner, depending on the requirement, we will have to come up with a service backup, because ultimately, even if a person is buying a 65K worth of a bike, probably that is the single largest purchase he is making in his life. And we cannot diminish the value of that purchase. We will, as a manufacturer, we will have to give respect to that purchase, and then only probably we can have a repeat customer, repeat purchase, or probably a good word of mouth, which can give us more sales.
So it's a very interesting topic, and I am really enjoying it because definitely I will agree with the complete panel that dealer are the most important connect in the complete ecosystem for automotive industry. One. Second, people have a perception, like I come from both the background, so from 2012 to 2020 I was selling diesel three-wheelers also, and started with electric vehicle, and now I am 100% electric vehicle company. A lot of people come with the assumption, even dealers for that matter, which I would like to clarify on this forum, that even electric vehicle for that matter, if they don't have an engine also requires services, which need to be honored, and at the end of the day, very rightly said, customer needs service. Even if they have a loose nut and bolt, they can't handle it on their own, because it has to be given a particular specification torque, and it has to be maintained over a period of time, then only you will get a life in the vehicle. So even for electric vehicles also, a lot of people have a perception that electric vehicle don't require service centers. It will not be a profitable venture for a dealer. They don't make money. They make much of the money from electric vehicle segment. They don't make money on the service part of electric vehicle. It is not there. Even for an electric vehicle, accidents happens. Even for the electric vehicles, you have to have regular maintenance. Even for electric vehicles, the brake shoe has to be replaced. So all those aspects need to be look at it. Yes, the major portion, which is the engine, which requires more of maintenance, oil change, overhauling over a period of time, is not there. But apart from that also, rest of the component, the upkeeping of the vehicle is required in electric vehicle. So there is no question, and I fully agree, that anyone can get away without having a dealer network on floor. We have few big OEMs also who has tried doing their own, franchisee or their own company-owned showrooms also, but still, their 90%, 99% of the showrooms are franchisee network is through dealers. So there's no question from my side that without dealers anyone can survive, especially any OEM.
Excellent, sir. So now staying on the topic of dealers, what really stands out, and especially in the last year and a half, what has stood out is, especially in the passenger vehicle side, and of course we'll come to two-wheelers, three-wheelers, but dealers and FADA has been really standing for dealers, talking about how that OEMs have really been pushing models. So when I spoke, I mentioned that the volumes that I spoke about was technically wholesale and not retail, because wholesale is what gets reported to the body and we track retail through the portal, of course. But what has happened is, and we've observed this and FADA has called that out specifically, is that inventory levels have shot up significantly, and I see that across segments, be it two-wheelers, be it passenger vehicles. Our understanding, or basically our hypothesis there, is one reason, of course, the OEMs have been pushing to meet their targets. Another hypothesis is also potentially that the number of variants or models has gone up, which is why technically number of SKUs have gone up. So to maintain your SKUs, your dealer inventory has gone up. But especially on the PV side, it was as high as 80 days, which was about 30 days in pre-COVID. So I'd like, especially the gentleman from FADA, to speak about how do you see the inventory situation now on the two-wheeler side, and even if there is some aspect on the three-wheeler side also that you'd like to speak about. Because PV has been highlighted, has been spoken about, has been quoted multiple times, but two-wheelers and three-wheelers, the inventory situation not really spoken about or has been brought under the spotlight. So anything that you'd like to add there on those aspects?
So basically, the stock level which you are talking about in the passenger vehicle, so basically we give out that data in the public domain is on the basis of the feedback what we get from the customers, from our dealer friends. We roll out a Google form, and based on that we give a feedback. But on the two-wheeler side, obviously the stock levels are quite high. On an average, I'll put it, we are somewhere around 60 days. And again, there's a lot of outstanding to the network partners also. That is also not added up. So if you see, it will go almost to 70 to 80 days. And it's a tough situation for the dealers here. Honestly, I'll speak whether it is Honda to some level has brought down its stocks, but other manufacturers are still at a very high level. I'm not talking about the premium segment. It's more about the legacy players where in the ecosystem. We as an FADS and body, we have been trying to advocate that when the maximum stock which a dealer should carry is around 21 days. So we have been in the next coming month, we have been trying to meet, and we'll be meeting a lot of OEMs across all the brands in India, and we'll having a two-way dialogue, how we can help them, how they can help us, and to understand that how the inventory level can be brought down. It's a long-term game, and the OEMs have to, I'll say, answer to the stockholders, to the investors, and we dealers are, because of that particular reason, I feel we are hit on the profitability side. So it's a long way to go. A dialogue is the only way things can go forward. And if you see in Toyota, I'll just give an example in terms of spare parts. Most of the Toyota dealers are carrying a spare parts inventory of 7 days, 8 days. So, I mean, it's a long way to go in the Indian market. I mean, you have 30 states, 30 countries. It takes time for the products to reach those particular cities or blocks. So it's a long way to go in terms of managing the level of stock in India, I feel.
Right, thank you. So now I'll just touch upon, now that Mr. Lohia has joined on the panel, I'll speak a bit on the three-wheeler side and also especially both L3 and L5. And here I'd like to understand, especially see L5, for example, the data is available. But for L3, the issue really comes around wherein what is the actual size of the market. Say for example, for every other segment you can put a number on. My number sales, say for example in two-wheelers you're around 18 million units, in passenger vehicles you're at 4 million for example. Now getting data for L3 here becomes a bit difficult. So would you have a broad sense of and help our audience understand what is the annual sales when it comes to the L3 segment? While I understand it is very fragmented, but any broad number will really help people understand what is happening on the L3 side. And then coming on L5, what are the reasons why L5 is doing as well or even better than passenger vehicles, for example? So there was at least the data says that L5 three-wheelers are doing much better than passenger vehicles on the growth side. We are about 26% above pre-COVID levels of fiscal 19 already, whereas other segments are anywhere between 2% to 20%.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll talk about L3 first. In three-wheeler segment, L3 as of now also, most of the cities or districts, you will find the registration is there. There's very less areas where you don't find registration of the vehicle because definitely post 2017 or so, government on the ground is very strict that any vehicle without the number plate will not be allowed to ply. But yes, there are few reasons why there is a gap of almost 10% up to 10% of the total numbers what are there. But there is not a major gap what is happening in electric low speed variant where there is zero data available. So as far as L3 is concerned, both lead acid batteries, lithium ion batteries put together, the data is almost 92% almost there on portal, like whether it is RTU data or whatever the case could be. As far as L5 is concerned, and if you see three-wheeler segment as a whole is growing, or the market share for electric vehicle is almost 50 to 60% as compared to any other electric vehicle segment in India, it is purely again because of the L3. If you see specifically L5, the numbers are not that strong. But if you put together L3, whether lithium and lead put together in the complete three-wheeler ecosystem, then the number reaches to that level of 50 to 60% of the total market size, and it governs the growth. So if you see from last 5 to 10 years, one segment is almost stagnant, like the IC three-wheeler Bajaj small pack. So right now in three-wheeler segment, you have three different categories of products which constitutes L3, the L5 and a three-wheeler category. So it is L3 category vehicles, L5 category small body, and L5 category wide body. So this three categories compiled together forms a three-wheeler segment in India. So if you see, the major segment which has gone down in last 5 to 7 years is wide body diesel three-wheeler, which used to be somewhere around 30 to 32,000 numbers per month. It has gone down and is only operating at somewhere around 7 to 10,000 vehicles per month. That is primarily being replaced by L3 category vehicles, both lead acid and lithium. And if you see consistency as far as IC small body or compact RE size vehicle, where Bajaj is almost 90% of the market share, that segment remains constant with 25,000 vehicles, 27,000 vehicles a month. As far as L5 category is concerned, it's still very nascent stage, but yes, they have reached to a substantial numbers of almost around 15,000 vehicles a month. And that's that is one segment in which again you will see cargo segment doing much better than the passenger segment. So the whole number game which has come and added up is that if you add L3, the L3 segment which is only into electric vehicles, and that's why even a company like Bajaj has to plan to enter into that segment because they were not able to penetrate. We have almost 40,000 vehicles, 45,000 vehicles are sold in L3 category segment, which was almost 70 to 80% of what 50,000 vehicles was sold in the complete gasoline sector almost 5-7 years back. So the complete growth and the portion is coming from L3 segment right now. L5, yes, the traction has already started from last 2 years. We have seen the small body coming into the picture. Bajaj has launched their products. Piaggio is there. Mahindra is there. And now L3 segment has also been started by Bajaj just recently. This month only they have launched their vehicle with a new brand. So we will definitely see that this segment is going to do good, continue doing good. And L5 in electric vehicle will be a major churner. We have seen that Delhi government has also disclosed or not announced a policy because it's still under framing, but people are talking about that they were going to, by August or September 2025, they will not allow the sale of vehicles, gasoline vehicles, whether CNG or any category of vehicles in Delhi. So this thing will definitely follow other states and cities because Delhi is the central of all the policy making. We have seen in the past also for subsidies in two-wheelers, the FAME subsidies, everything moves out from Delhi. The subsidy, even state government subsidy was started in Delhi at the time of Sheila Dikshit era. So those all policies come from Delhi. And this, if they are saying that they will start this penetration and stop doing the registration or allowance of permit, even they have clarified it very nicely that they will not allow any permits to be given to IC vehicles. It will be all for electric vehicles only because there is a cap by Supreme Court that more than 1 lakh permits will not be allowed. So those all those new vehicles, all those old vehicles which be scrapped in IC vehicle will be converted to electric vehicle. So this kind of scenarios will definitely change the gamut for L5 segment. And I feel, as I mentioned also, by 2027, I think electric three-wheeler will be the dominator in the complete category, and three-wheeler segment will be the only first segment where you will see, major or 90% of the market being going to electric on that part.
Thank you. So now drawing on the aspect of electrification, and what I'd like to speak, so we already had some views on the three-wheeler side, but specifically on the two-wheeler side and those talk also on subsidy. Now basically the new PM e-drive scheme that has come in is valid till 26. What I want to check is, now we are almost doing a 1 million sales in electric vehicles. Do you see that continuing? Because globally what has happened is, most countries, even OEMs were very gung-ho upon by electric, but we've seen that in the past 2-3 years, that is, I would say the craze and the talk about EV has started slowing down a bit. I would not say it's dying down, but many countries, for example, which had given out ambitious targets of 100% electrification, say by 2030, 2035, we have pushed it ahead. Even OEMs, for example, and here of course I'm speaking about PV globally, had given out very ambitious targets that they'll stop manufacturing ICE vehicles, but that has been pushed off. And basically they're replacing electric with, some of them are talking about hybrid, wherein they're using now hybrid as a stepstone. Some of them are speaking about hydrogen. What I want to check is, do you see that pace? Because, for example, the Indian government has said that they want 30% of vehicles to be electric by 2030. One, do you see that possible? And second, especially with subsidies being reduced, do you see that trend of electrification continuing growing exponentially as it has, or will it settle into a regular Hindu growth rate as it's known in India? So anyone on the panel can take this up.
I think if you talk about the penetration of EV segment in India, right? So, obviously the state and the central government both have been giving subsidies at their level. So the best part is that in the EV we have 5% GST, and in the if you take it in the two-wheelers, we have ICE two-wheeler, we have 28%. So that is what is one of the major game changer and the support which is required. Now coming to the price points of ICE and EV in the two-wheeler segment, I think both have reached a level where I'll put it, ICE scooter and a EV scooter are almost having the same price. If you take into account the RTO and the insurance combined, I think the EV will be at a lesser price bracket. So the government support in terms of FAME or this PM drive, which is getting reduced from 10,000 bucks to 5,000 on the end of this month. So this won't be a major headache for any of us, I think the OEM level if we talk about. But that 5% GST has to stay for the EV segment to grow. And obviously, I think India has signed some agreements where globally, all the countries have to bring down the CO2 levels in the world for the better generations of, for our future generations. So it has to grow. Now coming to at what bracket will be at 2030, people are predicting from 30% up to 60%. Right now, in the two-wheeler segment, we are somewhere around 6-7% on an average, and we've been growing post-COVID at the rate of 1% annually. So I see, in 2030, my personal, after your, I'll say intelligence and whatever we read in the papers and the research papers, there will be somewhere around 15% in the two-wheeler industry is what I feel. Like in the EV three-wheeler, we have almost touched around 50-55%, which will grow. But in the EV, in the two-wheeler, it's, I think, my guess is somewhere around 15% by 2030. But that 5% GST has to stay for us to reach at that level.
So I have a different opinion on that part. If we see from a two-wheeler perspective, I think definitely it'll be far better than 15%. Reason being, like we are seeing in the past 5 years almost, the emission standards are improving drastically, and which is adding up to the costs. Definitely, GST and the other RTOs and insurance are the part of it. But the laws, even from the 1st of April, what I have heard that there are a few norms which are changing, and which is going to add on the cost of the vehicle, IC vehicle again. So those kind of changes which we expect further to happen in the next 3 years will definitely play a very instrumental role for a person to decide. Apart from that, on the IC front, but if you see from a electric vehicle front, there are 3 to more factors which we anticipate will happen in coming time, which will drastically improve the vehicle costs on two-wheeler front. Yes, at today, the prices are almost at par, on-road costs are par for an electric vehicle and that for a gasoline vehicle. But few things which are adding up and will improve further. If you see lately, Bajaj has reduced on the cost, Ola has reduced the upfront cost of the vehicle. Even the new vehicles which are coming in the market are reducing the price. It is purely because of one factor which is governing this. It is the costs of the battery pack, which is almost 50 to 60% of the vehicle cost, has come down drastically. We are right now, the cost of the cell is operating well below $100, which is a very important benchmark. And we are further anticipating the new technologies which were in making from last 5 to 7 years will further enhance the life of the battery pack, and also the charging time and the cost of the vehicle. So all these 3 put together will definitely increase the penetration or the acceptability of the electric vehicle. And definitely we are all aware about what is happening in the electric vehicle segment. So this will definitely, once the adaptability will start, all key players are already there in this segment of electric two-wheeler, the penetration will definitely kick off far ahead. As far as the other question which I like to also put in to answer that, the international market which was too pro for electric vehicle electrification in PV segment has drastically realigned the numbers. The major factor which is coming out is hydrogen. I have been, since I have studied the complete white paper on hydrogen, I was pretty sure that electric vehicle in PV segment especially will work as a catalyst, like what happened in telecom sector, from migration to telephone landlines to mobile phone. Pager only activated or supported in 10 to 15 years of the complete migration process. In PV sector, please mind my words, not in two-wheeler and three-wheeler. I'm talking about PV sector only. The same thing will happen. The electrification or the battery operated vehicles will only help in migrating from IC vehicles to the hydrogen vehicles, because hydrogen, if you see overall, has a great efficiency what electric vehicles are providing, and it will have a better efficiency, scale, and load carrying capacity also. So the complete ecosystem is now talking about hydrogen. There are already big OEMs who never wanted electrification or electric vehicles, fully operated, battery operated electric vehicles. They have not launched, like Toyota. Then there are few who have started, and now they are going back saying that might be will not add new products, like BMW very openly said that they will not be coming up with any new electric vehicle models. So whatever they have already developed, they will be doing it. What I anticipate, anywhere about 1500 cc to 2000 cc, hydrogen is very viable option as compared to electric vehicle, because again, batteries are heavy, they had to be carried, the charging time is there. And in hydrogen, you have a very sweet spot, very good efficiency when it runs on hydrogen. Even because apart from IC vehicles, like the type of IC vehicles, you can also run on hydrogen. And then even the power generated by motor can also be run on hydrogen fuel cells. So all those efficiencies going to add up, and at the end of the day, you will see the hydrogen in heavy mobility segment, whether you talk about cars above 2000 cc or even trucks and buses. Hydrogen will definitely take the lead, and yeah, it is just a matter of time, another 10 years or 15 years or so, that you will see hydrogen will be more active. And that's why the migration is happening. Like a country like Sweden, Norway, who are almost more than 85% like electric vehicle operating right now, they are also started moving towards hydrogen already. So that phase, which I anticipated 2 years back when I wrote that paper, when I read that paper, it is completely happening on the ground right now.
Right. So, speaking a bit on continuing the thread on electrification, and this is specifically on the premium side. On the PV again, we've seen that premium EVs are selling as much as ICE EVs, or in fact, the demand is much higher, but supply is not there. Now, while I understand, with especially on the motorcycle side, there is an issue with you do not have so many models. Say in the mass market, you got a couple of OEMs only who launched it. Because mainly is the issue around engineering and fitting in the battery within the frame of the motorcycle. But then, do you see some alternate? Say, do you see hybrid taking off? Or is there some other mode, or will ICE motorcycles continue to be dominant going ahead?
Well, at this moment, ICE is the way for us to go. However, we are not lagging behind as far as our efforts are concerned. So, as I love to say, my bike has more tech per square inch, because in such a small surface area, we have so many technologies. But that is not good enough for a battery pack, because for my Panigale, let us say, which in the most raw form belts out more than 228 bhp. Now that is like a full-fledged luxury car kind of power. So for that, there is no battery pack. However, we are definitely working on that. In fact, Ducati is the only supplier to Moto E. Now Moto E is one of the electric bike racing happening under the aegis of MotoGP. For reference, the F1 of cars, so that is MotoGP. Now with MotoGP happening in India, I think we are more aware. So Moto E is part of that, and Ducati is the sole supplier to Moto E. So we definitely have an electric bike running, but that is not for any commercial purpose. That is more for our R&D learning, and although I'm not privy to the data, what they have, but I'm sure we must be doing very good progress. However, as a company, in the short term, I don't foresee any product coming up as such, because we are still in the very early stage of learning. Again, as we have a very dynamic geopolitical situation with the battery and everything, as we were talking about, that many countries going back on the promises of 100% electrification and everything. So it will be a commercial call when the company, which direction company will go for. But yes, I am sure in the next couple of years, there will definitely be some technology ready for us as well. In today's newspaper only, I read BYD has come up with a charging tech which says in 5 to 10 minutes they will be 100% charging, which is akin to filling the petrol tank. So something of that nature, you never know. And we are part of the bigger VW group. So I am sure there will be some shared knowledge, some shared tech. So as a student of this auto industry, I am hoping for some good things. Let us see. But as of today, I think it is too early to say that premium bikes will be ready with the electric battery packs, anything.
Right. Mr. Tushar, would like to add something there?
Yeah, I think what Bipul sir just rightly mentioned. No, sir, I think for me, sir is the right thing. So hybrid is something which I think definitely would be something that will run parallelly with electric, because if you see electric, there are a lot of cons as well, because such things like range anxiety, which is there amongst the consumers. And if you see Europe as a market, for us, Brixton also, we had plans of coming up with electric motorcycle, but then we scrapped those plans, because looking at what is actually happening in the European market particularly, most of the manufacturers have cancelled their plans of going all electric, and they're focusing now more on hybrid as well as only on the petrol side of the aspect. So I feel hybrid is something which is that's something that definitely is a technology that will come into mass production in the coming future, because electric will be somewhere restricted to only commuter segment, I feel. And if you want to travel long distances, I think hybrid would be something that would be more cost effective in terms of the fuel cost as well as pairing it with a battery. And again, the range anxiety would go. And considering the premium motorcycling market, the customers would be willing to pay a price for that, because they would be getting that sort of a technology. But it's still a long way. But I'm sure that slowly manufacturers will also consider hybrid as well.
I think I like to add here, right now in the market like India, the first challenge I think any manufacturer has to overcome is that first is get your scooter EV market right. That is not mature till now. EV, where you can be in a scooter you can keep your battery properly and whatever stuff, and it's a more of an urbanized solution for transportation. So once you get the scooter right in India, you increase the, right now in the scooter market out 15% is EV. So when the scooter market, that EV scooter segment increases from 15, let's say, to 50, then I think we'll see some shift towards a EV of a motorcycle. Some startup companies have started doing that, but how successful they'll be, how much the customer will be able to accept, premiumization, EV of the premium models, is that we have to wait and see. But first we are not able to cross the scooter also. There are still challenges in the scooter EV market, technological challenges, which have not been overcome in a market like India. Most of the technologies are getting borrowed from the European or the American markets. So we need to indigenize the technology, the software which goes into the electric scooters in India. So I think this is a long way to go for premium EVs in India.
I think one more thing which I would like to add is that what Sir mentioned about technology, there's a lot of tech that is there in the global market. So I think that tech should also come to India, because what even Bipul Sir mentioned about the geopolitics, I think it's good for the Indian manufacturers that the more technology comes here, the more changes we'll be doing in the products, the more R&D will happen. So I think it's also crucial that we see what the global other global manufacturers are doing, like what even Sir mentioned about BYD announcing that 5 minutes charging. So I think that is something that our R&D team and the Indian manufacturers should also learn and try to adapt, so that we can also compete and be in par with what's happening at the global level.
So I completely agree what you all are saying. The only point of differentiation is there are few reasons why motorcycles, especially high-end motorcycles, as I mentioned, I 100% agree that Ducati will, I know their plans, but will not like to have an electric vehicle, because there are challenges on that. And I mentioned that's why the hydrogen is a better option rather than electric vehicles, because in high CC it is tough to get the battery packs in the right condition. So anything above 1000 cc, even in a motorcycles, I don't see. Why motorcycles are not getting that success is purely one thing I can find out. We did a research, a very deep into root research in 2021, which the reason why people buy a motorcycle and continue to buy a motorcycle is the V-room factor, the sound they get in a motorcycle. Even talk to like Royal Enfield customer, they want that thuk-thuk sound. That's why they want that Royal Enfield. So even in a motorcycle racing like Ducati or any other premium bike, or for that matter even 100cc or 200cc, the main reason is that sound. People want that, which is completely missing, and definitely electric vehicle manufacturers has to find out a way to that it sound feel out of it. So I 100% agree. Yes, the challenges are there in electric vehicle motorcycle, but I again will agree that once the scooter will definitely mature, it happened even in IC vehicles. Initially, it was all scooter-driven market rather than motorcycle-driven market. The same thing I think will happen even in electric vehicle also. Once they have confidence as because even today scooter is always treated as even IC segment also as a secondary vehicle, not as a primary vehicle. On the other side, motorcycle is always treated as a primary vehicle. So that the difference will always be lie in the mindset of the people. Once it gets stabilized, people are confident that in secondary vehicle they are confident, they are not facing any challenges. Being big players like Bajaj and TVS are already there, they have confidence on the manufacturers, the product and quality. Definitely they will shift. Yes, once we have more than 40-50% of market share, electric motorcycle will also pick up. But yes, the most important thing is the V sound, which is required in that motorcycle.
Well, your points are very valid. And now let me go back to the very beginning of this entire discussion. Both my panelists were talking about bringing the excitement back to two-wheelers. I think the same thing needs to come back to electric two-wheelers as well. See, I don't ride any electric two-wheeler, but I see many of them on the road. And the majority of them, what I see on the road are not B2C, but B2B. And they are the poorest copy of any design. Now let me talk something different with the Italian design perspective. So when you see any B2C, B2B kind of two-wheeler on the road, they are the worst possible form of two-wheeler and the worst form of riders, unfortunately. Without any helmet, zipping around like they don't want to reach their home back in a single piece. So I'm not trying to comment on that, but that is what we see on the roads. Now my point is, if the manufacturers are trying to put focus on the EV business, let there be multiple models in that department also. If we have 2, 3, 4 models in a 100, 110, 125 cc IC engine, why not to have multiple models? There are models. I'm not saying manufacturers are not doing that. But let there be some more focus on the design aspect. Let there be some more focus on the safety aspect. Let there be some more focus on the safe riding aspect. Because see, as a person moving on the road, my thought process about electric two-wheeler is actually very negative because I see all those people zipping around, delivering their things. Actually, they are doing their job. That is their duty. But they are delivering, they are performing their duty in a very wrong way.
Crooked way, I will say it.
Very crooked way. So I think as a manufacturer, it is our duty to make them understand how to ride properly a better bike. Let us give them a better bike, a better looking bike, I would say, more safe bike, and teach them how to ride properly. Probably this will also help in a better assimilation in the society. See, today given a chance, I will not buy a electric two-wheeler because I have actually developed a negative way. Knowing the fact that there are legacy manufacturers making some of the most beautiful two-wheelers. One manufacturer was actually given the charge of copying from Italian design. Let me not name that, but that's a beautiful scooter actually. So let us try to work from a different perspective as well.
Then, sir, I'll strongly differ on this point. Like in a market like India, right? We are middle. I mean, we are not in the top of the bracket in the top 5-10 countries in terms of your spending power, your per capita income. So talking about these B2B guys, right? So in a market like India, you should be. I'll say we should be thankful that they are getting a product in that segment where they want to commute. Right, you are in the Ducati segment, due respect to you, sir. But that's what I say. So you have to see what they want. What does that particular customer wants? He wants a electric product where the cost is 25 paise per kilometer, and I can commute from point A to point B. I'm not going for looks. If I want to go looks, I'll buy a Ducati. But I'm just going for a transportation, right? And now talking about the safety aspect, I think India as a country is the least compliant in safety, right? And the more you move from urban to rural pockets, the more non-compliance you will see. And now if you're talking about these guys, I don't know, it is B2B, I mean maybe in Delhi or Bombay, wherever you see these guys jeeping around. But more you go to the tier 2 cities, you won't find this concept. There the compliances are much better. So these products are very much required, sir, in order to grow, in order that particular for that one person to become self-reliant, at least to getting a low-cost product, and is able to sustain his family without working. So you are creating more entrepreneurs in the system is what I will try to say, sir.
Well, I am 100% for this thing and I am not against this idea. But yes, as far as compliance is concerned, I think as a manufacturers, it is our duty to ensure compliance into the market.
See, I'll add one thing here. Like Shokji said, e-rickshaws now are compulsory to be registered. There are still this sect of scooters which are not mandatory to be registered. That is the problem. So anything which is registered, passed from ARAI, meets the safety concerns, and those are the vehicle which they don't use.
Yes.
So the day Indian government comes up with a concept which FADA tried to push but it didn't happen, that they have a concept of below 25 kilowatt power and below 40 kilometer speed, you can have a vehicle with 2 tires, which no restriction, even helmet is not required. The registration is not required. So obviously there is no compliance, because when helmet is not there, registration is not there. So you don't have to comply with going on the right side of the road or taking a wrong U-turn or something. And that is where the fault is.
Yes.
And obviously the other fault is us as customer when we expect Blinkit to deliver 10 minutes thing to us. And now 10 minutes ambulance to us. So it's a bigger picture, and somewhere the regulations are faulty than the OEMs or everything. So
No, I'll put it like this particular segment. So where you have the 250 watt and less than 25 kilometer per hour, this segment is unregulated. But the biggest challenge from the manufacturers of this particular segment is they are manufacturing more than that, but on paper they are showing it less. So there's no ARAI certifications, no safety compliance, nothing is happening on record. So FADA as a body, we have taken it up, and in shortly we are going to take it up across SIAM, across government authorities, across all the states, to see to it that all these two-wheelers which are less than this bracket have to either comply in letter and spirit that they are less than 225, they cannot be driven more than 25, and they are less than 250. So FADA has recently started a two-wheeler vertical, and will be strongly advocating this particular across all the OEMs, state government, central government, to see that this is complied, or else raids should happen on these manufacturers also and all the dealers also, who are non-compliant with respect to this, the specific port you are talking about.
I think this is a very important point. In fact, see, the many points we talked about, so I think this is beyond the scope of this panel to talk about Blinkit and everything, because that is a different business altogether, and we don't want to comment. But yes, that is the serious expectation fault with we as consumers, because then we are putting those riders under serious threat of injury. But again, somewhere down the line, it is our combined duty as whatever duty we follow, whether we are manufacturers or we are dealers or whatsoever. It is our combined duty to inform the people in general that, boss, there are certain ways of riding on the road. Whether you are riding a two-wheeler, a three-wheeler, or four-wheeler, or even trucks, you just cannot put others' lives into danger. And this is what I see, what you were talking about, sir, about Delhi being, or any bigger city like being such thing, and lower cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities being more compliant, is because we have far larger units of vehicles on the road. We see far larger people in the society, and that's why the requirement of any other 10-minute business is far higher. And so yes, that is something, a larger situation, but I thought it's an important point which we must acknowledge, that safety regulations have to be complied without any two thoughts about that. And given my Italian company, design will remain always a choice.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. So we are out of time, but I think we can take one question. So if anybody has a question in the audience, please call out. There'll be somebody with a mic coming there, and you can ask one of the, if you have a pointed question to one of the panelists, you can do that, or keep it generic, and the panel will decide who answers.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the very insightful discussion on the overall topic. So particularly we talked about lot of majorly on the motorcycle front, where like penetration is at a higher level, and a lot of things like exciting things are not happening at the mass level. So typically around 100 cc and this thing. So I have a question on the similar thing. So as an industry stakeholder, we should be gauging the growth in terms of volume. So where in the mass market, a lot of things happening are not happening. But on the other side, in the sub-segment where the volume is low and a lot of things are happening. So in this case, we should be like only studying the growth in terms of volumes in silos, or we could club it with the value as well. Because definitely in terms of value, a lot of things is happening, because OEM can easily charge a premium without facing a much backlash with the customer.
I'll tell you what happened lately. This startup culture actually changed the concept of all this. As an auto industry, we talk about only quantity. this value structure came because of the startup culture. We never thought of selling a crore vehicle or a 1 lakh vehicle. A revenue model, value model, all started when all this happened. Very frankly, it's the numbers. I sell a 2 lakh bike or 360,000 bike, which is more important. Selling 360,000 because I'm supporting 3 families in India. So for value, it could be as an entrepreneur, you are getting, see, as a dealer, my 5% margin or 3% margin on a 2 lakh bike and 360,000 bike will be same. But is it the right approach to monitor? I don't feel so. I feel in auto industry, we still have to and should be going through volumes only. No doubt the share market, the investors market, the PE market is value. So every manufacturer will have to think what to report, where to report, and how to go ahead for it.
So I think there's one last question that we can take at the gentleman behind you.
Yeah, good morning. Dr. Joshi from ICAT. I was listening to the conversation related to the low-speed two-wheelers. There were a lot of suggestions coming. Would like to understand from the gentleman on the dais, what is the possible solution you guys are proposing to, kind of handle this nuisance of below 250, less than 25 kmph vehicles?
So basically, if you consider how e-rickshaws have been regularized after being registered, we should also get it registered, get it ARAI approved, because what is happening, they are a below 25 kilowatt battery, but a chip comes along with the sale where you install it and the speed goes berserk. And because they don't need a range, they normally travel 2 to 10 kilometers one side and they are in that radius. So even if a vehicle commits 100 kilometer range and gives only 50 kilometer range, their day is defined. They need the speed, which is not allowed in this bike, but with that chip they get it, and that's illegal to have it. But there is no control from side. The FAD had already written to ARAI, MORTH on that.
We all are, and the regulators, including us, are struggling to do this, but we would like to understand from the technology standpoint, what's the proposal on the table? Because we are not able to handle this.
So the
honestly
only
speaking,
way we have...
Wait. Let me complete. The only thing is that, suppose somehow we are able to do this below 250, what will happen to the electric cycles which are there, which can also be, tweaked to run about 25. So this is basically a technological problem and more of an enforcement problem. How regulations will step in here?
So first of all, see, the Indian law says that anything less than 25 kilometer per hour and this battery size, it becomes a toy. I mean, you can ride it anywhere and everywhere you want it without a helmet or anything. So point is, first of all, the regulations have to be strictly enforced by the central, by the state, by all of us in the ecosystem. We cannot shift the blame to only the enforcement authorities. As an association body, in the next few months, you are going to see some action from our side that this has to stop. And sir was talking about, Vinkeshji was talking about a chip. I am saying there's not even a chip required. You just have to switch off some MCB switches and the speed increases. And the battery size, I have a EV at my home. It is basic for the house servants to take forward. They say it goes more than 25, and we know it all. So it has to be addressed at multiple levels, across regulatory authorities, across all the, I'll say, the dealer or fraternity of that particular city or town. And technological, there's no, I think there's no answer. The only thing is regulations. Just like in the e-rickshaw, you have to shift to registrations, right? It has to be regulated that way. That's my opinion upon this particular segment. And again, the cost for this segment is very less. You don't have to get ARAI certifications, BI certifications, anything.
Maybe then reduce the kilowatt battery size. For a cycle, you don't need a 25 kilowatt. Maybe 10 kilowatt, reduce it to that. And let this be controlled as per ARAI norms. Because it's actually not a cycle, it's a moped or a scooterette, something like that. And
so should I add on this?
I'll take your card and we'll meet
on the
in house.
manufacturing front, please. So you have a right challenge of a cycle and a scooter. For a scooter, very rightly said, you can have a registration process where you define like how you're doing in a e-rickshaw, L3 category vehicles, where you get the vehicle registered, at least 70-80% of the vehicles will come under that category. The challenge lies for the bicycle, which is also a assisted pedal with motor and battery pack. There, the norm earlier was that you need to have a pedal for a bicycle. Electric driven bicycle, you need to have a pedal. Even a scooter used to has that, but it was removed. Then it was removed for both of the cycles, both the cycles also and for the scooters also. So you continue to have a pedal assisted bicycle when it comes to motor assisted vehicle, and then only for a scooter make it registered, and the speed can be defined whether 25, 30, whatever the case could be, and regulate it in the market. So this will, up to a certain extent, definitely, you can't bound everyone on that they will follow it, but most of the thing will be definitely addressed once you have a registration of a scooter. At least people can identify that this is the scooter and this is the bicycle. Right now the challenge is people, even the enforcement people like police and all, not able to identify from far that this is going to be a scooter with a high speed or a low speed, whatever the case could be. It's only once it has been implemented. There was a very good example few months back in Maharashtra and Rajasthan. The government has completely banned low-speed so-called vehicles. They said it's not allowed to have any low-speed vehicle. They either have a registration or don't buy the vehicle. They completely locked down it. So if administration wants to happen, it can definitely happen. But then there was a question asked that if the category of Motor Vehicle Act allows a low-speed vehicle, why you can do that? How you can do that? So that was the implementation issue.
I think
but yes,
forget about-
bicycle and scooter can be segregated very easily on that part.
I think forget about EV. In the ICE segment, I'll put it if the Indian market right now has 100 two-wheelers in the market, 80% of the two-wheelers won't be having their valid insurance. So you're talking.
Sir,
Sir,
let me try to
Sir, actually,
give a final comment.
Yeah, we are out of time. We can do this
Yeah,
offline
just
if you don't mind.
for your kind information, this less than 250 is not even a motor vehicle. Huh? So you should know this.
Okay, thank you. I think there's no more time. We're already running out of time. We had an exceptional discussion, so I couldn't stop it in the middle. So thank you, gentlemen. It was a great learning from you and listening to you. I hope the audience also did enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the insightful discussion. Can we have a huge round of applause for all the panelists and moderators?